All right, let Uncle 3 spin you a tale, one that's a bit eerie and certainly not for the faint of heart, drawing from what I've heard. Have you ever heard of the movie The Tag-Along? It's a Taiwanese horror film released in 2015, inspired by a famous urban legend about the little girl in red, a mysterious ghost often seen in mountain hiking videos. Today, Uncle 3 will tell you another spiritual tale related to the girl in red, this time set in the Dakeng mountain area. But this story comes from two Vietnamese friends who claim to have encountered this malevolent spirit themselves. Okay, before we dive into the story, let's recap a bit. The legend of the girl in red is said to have originated from a real video recorded in 1998 in the Dakeng area of Dakeng, Taiwan. In the footage, a group of friends went hiking together. But when they watched the video back at home, they noticed a mysterious little girl in a red dress following the group. Yet no one remembered seeing her during the trip. People in Taiwan believe that the girl in red is an evil spirit or demon from local folklore. According to traditional beliefs, this spirit often appears in the form of a child wearing a bright red dress and silently follows hikers or tourists. Later, some members of the group reportedly went missing under mysterious circumstances or suffered strange accidents. This led to the belief that the appearance of the girl in red is a harbinger of misfortune. This chilling legend was adapted into the 2015 film The Tag-Along, which revived the haunting tale and spread its eerie influence throughout Taiwanese pop culture and even internationally. So there's this person, the one telling the story, who used to live in Saigon. His dad was Chinese and his mom was Vietnamese. Now, this person got a gig and a chance to work in Taiwan, exporting labor, and they went with a really good friend of his. But here's the thing. It wasn't the usual labor export deal where you're stuck in some factory, living a super tough life. No, this person got a sweet setup. They landed a job working for a boss who ran an eatery, whipping up dishes like crispy fried noodles and fried rice. His career was helping out in the kitchen, washing dishes, and doing general assistant work. When they first got to Taiwan, it was all a bit new and confusing, but man, the city of Kaohsiung was beautiful. They worked for this boss for about a year, and get this, the boss was a decent guy who really cared about his employees. It was just the two of them, the narrator and his friend, working there. 1 month, business was booming. Revenue was way up, so the boss decided to treat them. He offered them a trip, a little vacation up to the mountains. The narrator was over the moon. Think about it. Ever since coming to Taiwan to work, they haven't had a single chance to kick back and just enjoy themselves. This wasn't some fancy tourist trip. It was hard labor. Every single penny they made was carefully saved to send back home to his family and for his own living expenses in Taiwan, even though the boss covered his food and clothes. So this trip meant the world to them and his friend. But what they didn't know, what they couldn't possibly imagine, was that this fun trip was about to turn into an absolute nightmare. Before they even hopped on the bus, his boss handed each of them a charm, a little talisman, and told them to keep it close, always on their person. Then he gave them a long piece of string and insisted they each hold on to it and stick together. No splitting up. The narrator was totally baffled. Couldn't figure out why the narrator was pretty good at understanding Chinese because of his dad. His friend, not so much. just a little. So the narrator tried to ask the boss what the deal was with the charms and the string, but he just brushed it off, saying, "Go enjoy yourselves. I'll tell you all about it when we get back. I don't want to bring that up while we're having fun." So the narrator kept quiet, and off they went to have some fun. Everything seemed fine. When it was time to head back, his friend snapped a picture of the narrator on his phone. Later, when they were back home, the friend opened up the photo, and that's when they saw it. Behind the narrator, there was this tiny, terrifying figure. It was a girl wearing a red dress with hair that looked like it was falling out. But her face, oh man, her face was twisted, distorted like a demon's, almost impossible to make out clearly. The friend naturally showed the boss the picture, and just like that, the boss completely lost it, started yelling and cursing, threatening to fire the friend on the spot. No matter how much they begged, the boss wouldn't budge. He kicked the friend out, paid them 3 months' salary, and even bought a super expensive last-minute plane ticket back to Vietnam for that very day. The friend left feeling totally wronged, with no idea why they were being fired. The narrator was left behind, feeling incredibly sad and exhausted, partly because they'd lost their helper. That night, the narrator finally got a direct answer from the boss. He said, "Your friend didn't listen to me. They didn't hold on to the charm or the string. Your friend brought that demon into this house." The narrator was stunned. "What kind of demon?" they asked. "And how would my friend know?" That's when the boss spilled the beans about a Taiwanese urban legend. It's tied to the migration of the Han Chinese. These folks came to Taiwan to perform a ritual, a kind of suppression, on a mountain called Dakeng. A master used a ritual, sacrificing a young girl to seal the mountain, and every single year they had to offer up another child of the same age as a replacement. This magic, he said, was a dark art of the Han dynasty. It was supposed to keep wealth and property safe and bring good energy. But then Taiwan became its own country. Peace settled in, and over time, people stopped doing these sacrifices. They just abandoned the whole thing. So the last little girl, who was only about 5 or 6 years old, never got her replacement. She was supposed to be set free by a new sacrifice each year, but she never was. And because of that, she became consumed with rage and transformed into a demon. And here's the really creepy part. Anybody who ventures into any forest in Taiwan will eventually run into a child just like her. And that child, that evil spirit, will follow you home. Why? Because this wicked soul wants to manipulate those people, to make them lead his own family members or folks from his community back into the forest, where she either kill them, scare them, or trap them. That's why the boss was so terrified and why he got rid of the friend so quickly. The story went quiet for about a year after that. The narrator doesn't see anything weird happening at the boss's house, even though the boss apparently calls in a sorcerer to perform all sorts of rituals. The narrator didn't buy it. They just thought it was some old Taiwanese superstition that the demon wasn't real. Life went on. Business at the restaurant kept booming, and the narrator kept sending money home to his family. Then, one day, the narrator asks the boss if they can go back to Vietnam for a visit to see his parents. They went home, spent 4 or 5 days with family, and had some fun. On the 6th day, they decided to visit that friend, the one who'd been fired a year earlier. They wanted to check in on them, see how they were doing, and finally tell them the strange story the boss had shared that night. But when they got to the friend's house, the family told them something that made his blood run cold. They said his friend had never actually come back to Vietnam. They'd been out of contact for a whole year, and there was no way to reach them. The narrator was utterly stunned. They asked the family why they hadn't called the police. The family just said that his friend rarely called home anyway, so they didn't think much of it at first. But now the family was totally panicked, bewildered about where their child had gone that day and why they had never returned. The narrator rushed back to Taiwan and told the boss everything. The boss's face went ashen, and he was absolutely terrified. He said, "Look, I really don't want to get mixed up in this. This is a true story. It's a real urban legend, the kind every Taiwanese person knows about this demon." He explained that he couldn't help, didn't know how, and then he added the chilling truth. "You saw how when I sent him away, he never came back? He went back to the forest, the same one where we went on that trip. Don't even try to find him. He was captured, his soul taken by that little girl he accidentally took a picture of." And then the final gut-wrenching warning, "Because if you go looking for him, you'll become his replacement. And even if your friend did come back, he wouldn't be your friend anymore. Just a soulless shell without a mind." After that, the narrator dug deeper, researching more stories in Taiwan, and uncovered so many unsettling mysteries surrounding this red-dressed child. She always appears as a little girl in a red dress, with long hair, and when she follows you home, she'll lead you right back into the very forest where you first encountered her. That's why some families or people who know about this legend make sure to carry charms and string. They're meant to guide them back, to make sure they don't lead her back home. The narrator now believes his friend probably tossed the charm away in the forest, or perhaps just lost it. That's why his soul was taken forever. To this day, the narrator is still haunted, completely bewildered, and has no idea if his friend is even still alive. That's the whole story if you want to learn more about this red shirt kid. You can go online to learn more, but today Uncle 3 has just told you a direct encounter from the perspective of a Vietnamese person. See you again on the 8th night with more Asian horror ghost stories.